Welcome to the Anfield Wrap. I am Neil Atkinson, and the Anfield Wrap is supported by RedsBet. We partnered with them for the entirety of 2018. It is tailor-made for Liverpool fans, and RedsBet are an online gaming platform which seeks to build lasting partnerships with supporters that enable them to share 50% of net profits generated from bets to be used specifically for fan causes and other initiatives that matter to supporters. The supporters I've got in front of me today are Rob Gutmann, Andy Heaton and Rick McEvoy to talk about Liverpool beating Brighton and Hove Albion by 4 of your goals to none of their goals, and simultaneously confirming they will be playing Champions League football next season. And let's start there, Rob. It is fair to say that it was an utterly dominant performance from Liverpool. It could have been 5-0 at half-time. They absolutely broke any resistance that Brighton and Hove Albion might have had, and they were relaxed whilst doing so.
Yeah, it felt like a rare treat of a game, didn't it? One direction, really quite painless, an afternoon where you could just bask. And we've had so many strong performances this season, but there's always been some sort of, well, not always, but there's often been stings in the tail. The pressure was off coming into it. I think we have to first say thanks to the Huddersfield-Chelsea result in the week. There's a massive difference between having to get a draw at home and having to win a football match at home. Brighton were on the beach, so they were always likely to be beaten at 1, certainly at 2 goals. But, all those sort of qualifications aside, I thought we were devastating. Of course, it showed how a week's rest helps this Liverpool team, how this Liverpool team will always benefit from time on the training ground with its coaches and with Jurgen Klopp, and with the batteries fully recharged so the players can run and run and run. In some ways, it was as dominant a performance as we put in at home. Opposition notwithstanding, but the opposition aren't terrible. They beat Man U about a week and a bit ago. They drew with Tottenham about a week and a bit ago. They're not rubbish, but Liverpool were very, very dominant, created a ridiculous amount of chances. And it was actually, all around we were laughing that it wasn't 4 or 5 at half-time. I'm not laughing, just lamenting.
It 4-0 flattered them in the end, Rick, and that's, or more accurately, that's unfair. That almost feels as though you're attacking Brighton saying they were that bad. It was more that 4-0 ever so slightly damns Liverpool. That was a performance that really could have been 6 or 7, and it really could have just been 6 or 7 by the break.
Yeah, we were in the upper tier of the main stand, so not the greatest view of being able to see every individual player. But one thing I could see, you could see clearly in the first few minutes was how much they were worried by Solanke. Right, so that was creating space all over the shop. Just from him, he slipped over a couple of times, but he got through maybe twice when he slipped over in the first 10 minutes. And I turned to my wife and just said, "Look, he's scoring today." Any tension in the game was gone in that first 10 minutes. Yeah, we didn't score till half hour, but you just saw, well, we're cutting through these, and all it's going to take is 1 or 2, and they're just going to, give up.
His role in the first goal, having watched it back, was much more significant than I realised watching it in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he had a great game, but I think, like Neil said, 6-0 at half-time would not have flattered us at all. The fact that it's only 2 is partly down to us wanting, or Mane wanting Salah to get the golden boot, but also we just weren't quite clinical enough.
On the beach is an interesting thing, Andy, in that I think I'm always a little bit sceptical of on the beach, and that these are professional footballers, and I think, extreme examples like Huddersfield deciding to have 2 days on the ale aside after their Chelsea result. I think on the whole, sides, do stay disciplined till the end. What I do think happens, though, is when you do get 2 ahead, there wasn't the urgency really from Brighton to drag the way back into the game. But the point is, Liverpool go 2 ahead deep into the first half. Brighton, they don't want to be embarrassed. They're an organised football side, and I think that they've been a mid-table team this season, and Liverpool did really, really well just to keep cutting through them over and over.
Yeah, I think you can put teams on the beach, if that makes sense. No one's on the beach. No one goes into a football match wanting to roll over and get beaten, but you give them very little encouragement, and that's what Liverpool did. All right, they didn't put the chances away early on, but every facet of the performance was nailed down. I think that's just, it was almost reminiscent of just the way we were playing through them. Remember that game against Norwich where Alonso was just pinging it everywhere, and we were just in total domination. I think that's the most dominant performance of Klopp's Anfield career, to be quite honest. And that isn't to say So it's easy to, when you hammer teams 4 and 5-0 and you say, oh, they were abject, and you see mistakes here, there, and everywhere. Brighton didn't make that many mistakes. They were just literally pulled to the limits from the get go, and it was always going to be inevitable after the first 10 minutes that the seams would start to rip, gaps would start to appear, and once the first one goes in, well, then you are in that quandary. Well, what do you do next?
It's interesting how Klopp set up for that as well. In that Brighton, I don't know, it seemed unlikely. Brighton are quite a compact, half decent defensive unit when they want to be. That park the bus may be a bit harsh on them, but they were going to stay compact and defensive from the get go. And Klopp went with the 4 up front. Okay, partially forced maybe by Milner's injury, but I thought it was bold and it was interesting. Spent much of the match debating what kind of formation it was. Was it
the gamble with Solanke's paid off massively, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and it pays off because Brighton are obliging enough to make us not need to have anything more than a 2-man midfield, or in fact 2 central midfielders are sitting in front of the centre backs for much of the game. So it was the right thing to do. It was an interesting little marker, really, maybe for how Klopp might handle these kind of games in the future, because against that low block, Liverpool didn't look like it worried them whatsoever. Look, the team seemed set up to relish how deep Brighton were prepared to go.
From my point of view, one of the big things in that first half that probably killed Brighton more than anything else, that there's a bit where Lovren loses his man, cuts across, the forward cuts across and is gone. And Van Dijk just strolls up past him, just strolls next to him, takes the ball. And if you're Brighton and you're going, we're getting cut through like anyone's business, and your best attacking move of the half is cut off by someone basically moonwalking up to you, it doesn't imply that you're going to have anything of this game.
There's 2 things here. They worked massively on that. I remember after the game at Old Trafford away, and everyone was focusing on the error for the first one. And I think the one I just said, Trent should have cut an angle off. And it's obviously work on angles. If player X beats player Y, then defender X should be covering this area, etc. The other side of it is, and the lad next to me said this, when have you ever seen Van Dijk sprint? When do you ever see him make a last ditch? You don't. And I think that was the nearest we've ever got when he broke into a mild jog.
It was so authoritative, that wasn't it?
Oh no, but it was like, that's exactly the right word.
That's really, it's just how we fantasise Van Dijk would be, this sort of superhuman footballer. Of course, he's got a wreck in him. Of course, he's not flawless. When he does things like that, he does look like he is from another planet. He just looks physically on a different. As you said, he didn't look like he had to do anything quicker, but he just get out of the way.
He's the type of defender who can make a centre forward wilt. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? When the centre forward will go, you know what? I don't actually fancy this today.
Yeah, it was good. It almost in one moment put to bed the idea that this could be a 2-way contest, that any resistance they might offer might cause us some damage. No, it was going to be played in their half, end of story. I think they have one sortie, don't they, in the second half, which brings their fans out into a song of we've had a shot, in that southern woolly back style.
On that, and it's interesting because Neil says this quite often. Do you think they shook hands on? I know the game ended up 4-0. But the pace dropped a little bit. Do you think they shook hands on 65?
Yeah, I think a 3-0 there. I think they just sort of go, you know what, there's nothing in this for us.
But us as well, we just went...
On us as well. Yeah. No, I think we just sort of go, well, this is 3-0 and we can just sort of stroll. But I think there's something else, Andy, which, the Van Dijk thing makes clear, that it was the extent to which they just simply couldn't get out. They couldn't build a bridgehead. They couldn't even have 5 minutes of we'll just play the game in the middle third if you don't mind. That was just taken away from them by a combination of Van Dijk, Lovren, Henderson, Wijnaldum. It was the idea of you're going to get to do anything here that's anywhere near the halfway line. Absolutely not. There was a point where I thought we were all of our players were certainly in the centre circle of their half. That's how forward our centre-halves have gone. They're actually now defending not just the halfway line, they're almost defending the centre circle.
Which is kind of not like us. That makes sense. I know when we're at our best, we probably have less possession than the opposition and we blitz. But where we've kind of come unstuck and got better as the season progressed is like this control and domination to keep the ball, not recycling. The amount of times where we've failed to come from 100 mile an hour down to 60 and just be patient and probe and not... So, that stage in the game where they just start lashing all right, fair enough, we were 2-3-0 up at the time anyway. But there's been games where immediately teams have sat back and you get a sense, this is going to be difficult because we're going to lose our rag, we're going to maybe make a mistake. We're gonna start playing it long. None of that. They were just calm, patient, and given. And look, it's all wise after the event. It's all wise after the event. You know, Chelsea got beat, Liverpool won 4-0, but there was still a hell of a lot on the line.
Yeah, I thought
5 minutes to kick off.
I thought our concentration was good. Even at the point you could say that we weren't going to run.
The intent was good as well.
Yeah, even you knew the intensity would have to drop off, and you knew that that sort of as you say that tacit shaking of hands that happened. But you look at the third and the fourth, even more so. They're really, really impressive goals, both of those. The third comes without us having a period of intensity. It's just us staying focused. It's a counter. The counter attack is on, but we stay focused. Every player's touch is perfect. Firmino gets it out of his feet as is his forte superbly. He threads Salah in. Salah lets the ball do the work as is his forte, then makes that crucial first touch, which takes him away from everyone, and then threads Solanke in, who is still focused on the fact that he is having a good game and he still has a job to do. So I thought, in a way, it summed up the best of Liverpool, that goal. And sorry, I'll just be quick to finish without going into detail on the last one. The fact that all the subs had been made, a lot of the B lads were on the pitch, but we still played football like a Liverpool team to score that goal.
Yeah, the big thing of that with the fourth goal was seeing the interplay between Lallana and actually Danny Ings for me, seeing that he can fit into that pattern of play, those little 1-2s, moving the ball quickly and where it needs to go. On the shaking hands at 65 minutes piece, I think Klopp said himself after the match that when that third went in, that was the first joy he's felt all season, because he knew it was done. It's not like you're playing a team with enough to ride in on the game to pull you back from a 3-goal lead. And also, you know that any of the guys you're bringing on are wanting, especially with Solanke getting the third, you put Ings on, Ings is going to want to make sure he's doing everything he can to be the first attacking change in the Champions League final. Lallana's coming on. He's going to want to prove his fitness. There's so much there for the Liverpool players in relation to what's left for Brighton.
That's why I think Solanke's goal was so important. And look, I'm not anywhere near advocating he's starting Kev, but no one knows what's going to happen. But you look at a player now who's got a goal in front of at Anfield. He's got that out of his system. If, for whatever reason, you did need him there, he's there's a really crude euphemism that I'm not going to use, but he's basically got that out of him now. He's got that. He can just relax a little bit and come on. And I just think that's so valuable to Liverpool, even in the long term, that he's got that out of his system.
You can see he's got all the gifts, I think, Solanke. But it's the confidence has kept him a fraction of a yard short throughout his cameos. But he was showing. I thought he was a little closer to where he wants to be in that first half. And the goal is the goal that you hope he can score again and again. He's a very, you can see why, I mean, a lot of the times I think in recent weeks or in recent months, people have gone, really, what was the point of Solanke? He's just occupying a place where maybe Origi would have done better, maybe more, maybe we needed to have invested an extra few quid in a proper fourth or fifth choice striker. And anyone who's held that view has had enough evidence to support them, I think, from the bits and pieces we've seen from Solanke. But I think there has been hints that he's not exactly playing within himself, but not mentally able to quite cut free. I think this was the first time, if you want to believe what I think the coaching staff and the scouts will have seen in him, that there is something much, much more to come from him. I think there was some serious evidence there today.
That's what I'm saying about being able to relax into it and, playing and protecting and not making a mistake.
Yeah.
Now having that bravery to go, actually, you know what? I think I might just deserve to be in the squad. And not come on with that burden of having something to prove and do and overthink and do everything right. You know what strikers, Neil. You know what it's like.
I think there's something for me, Rob, in his first 10. I think his first 10's dead interesting in that you see he's just too anxious, but he's actually doing lots of the right things. And when Rick said before, when he nearly gets in, you can see that he's doing lots of the right things, and he ends up at one point and was chesting the ball on the floor. But he's chesting the ball on the floor on the edge of their area, having had the ball under control. And my point here is that it is that sort of, that's the assurance that you're looking for. I think that's what you're talking about. If he can just now relax, that idea that that's a problem for him is gone. He's got his Liverpool goal. And I'm not so much thinking about Kiev in that, I think, listen,
no,
it's all hands on deck at Kiev, but I am sort of wondering if through the Ings' poor performances when given opportunities and what Solanke's demonstrated against Brighton, if maybe he's managed to get himself into the don't send me out on loan, keep coaching me, keep me around the good lads. I want to play with the good lads. Let me have some turns next season playing with the good lads. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, without making, I'm not going to make a comparison, but I do remember a young Ian Rush. It's not like he's not going to be Ian Rush, but I do remember his first 18, 19 games. There was, he was Bambi on ice at times, as Solanke, or too heavy in his touches, and you couldn't see where the goal was coming from, and yet there were things that were right. When you see a player's got pace and power and body strength, and you can see them wanting to do the right things, sometimes it's not far away. I mean, for me, he makes the first crucial contribution of the game, which I think serves notice on Brighton that this is going to be a very difficult afternoon. Because if I'm right in saying, he threads Mane in for the chance where Mane probably should have squared it for Firmino. But he's got a decision to make, Solanke, that he could go left, and I think a few around me were screaming for left. But the thread to Mane is so perfect that it's a Rolls Royce of a chance that Mane should take or score. But what?
That chance, my head fell off.
Oh, what?
My head fell off watching Mane's head fall off. It was great.
Oh, well, and the one where he tries to set Salah up. But I love what Solanke does on the opening goal for Salah. And he was trying to do that all afternoon, not all afternoon, for a good chunks of the afternoon against Chelsea last week. He was trying to roll his man, opening up the edge of the penalty area for runners, and it wasn't coming off for him. To see it when Trent breaks through the middle of the park, sort of unopposed because of Brighton sitting so deep, he wants to find a vertical pass in. Everyone's marked. Solanke's the only one of the front four he takes one step to his right, and suddenly he's free.
What do you think?
And nobody moves with him, and he gets it. He gets the ball, nudges it to Salah, and the rest is gone.
Do you think that's maybe one of the reasons he threw the Mickey in, picking the four up front in so much as the Brighton man? I thought, right, we'll literally go man for man with these three, and then suddenly by throwing the extra man in, you've got an overload somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. But it requires people still got to move. I mean, you often have 4 or 5 thrown at a defence when you're chasing a game in a siege-like way. I think he chose to play out how you're going to play the last 10 minutes from the first 10 minutes onwards to an extent, only with a bit more of the calmness that you can get in the first 10 as opposed to the last 10.
See, I like I say, I thought Solanke had a really good game, and there was kind of two, well, I suppose 3 points to it. So obviously the finish for his goal is amazing. Yeah. It's just exactly what you would want, apart from maybe it being down the other end. But probably the thing that stood out most in the performance for me was his link play, his little flicks, his little passes around the corner that to me looked more like someone who will, with time, be able to operate in the system that we currently play than anything I've seen with Danny Ings. Danny Ings gives it his all, is running until he can't run anymore, which isn't a long time nowadays, but he doesn't look like he's on the same level, the same wavelength as the other guys in that front three. The only kind of downside for me is that he had all of those 3 on the pitch with him. So you don't know whether you put Danny Ings there and he's got those 3 lads behind him, whether you see a different Danny Ings.
I just think Ings doesn't have the attributes for the modern game, I think, that Solanke has. I don't know. Ings might be a brighter footballer, cleverer footballer. I don't know yet because I don't know the full range of Solanke. But the power and the pace and the physicality is a thing.
One of the things that most pleased me, Rob, about the performance full stop, but with Solanke starting in amongst where he did, actually was the number of chances, the number of missed chances, and especially the number of missed chances from Firmino.
Yeah,
that we weren't in a situation where Firmino wasn't in the game. Let's put aside the fact that he doesn't stick the ball in the back of the net for a second. He should. And if you're the coach, if you're a manager, you walk away and you go, well, that worked. Just because he didn't score doesn't mean that didn't work. Mane doesn't score, but Mane should score. Do you know what I mean? The manager is able to look back and watch the video of that game and conclude. He's able to watch it in real time and conclude all 4 of that front 4 should score. They all should have scored today. Therefore, that is an attack that's functioned. It's not just that one player's played particularly well or anything like that. That is an attack that's functioned.
Yeah, it was interesting actually, because all focus on the goal tallies this season has all been about Mo Salah, and sort of like maybe a slightly patronising nod to the lads behind him. They're scoring goals too. But you watch the body languages of Mane and Firmino, I thought even more so. Firmino wanted his goals yesterday. He knew there were goals in that game. You're absolutely right. When Mane doesn't square it to him early doors, he's fuming. He wants that goal. He wants that on his tally. He knows he was within sight of, was it all comps 30, wasn't he? Which is, yeah, he was. I think he's finished the season on about 27 or something like that.
He's not finished it, Rob. We've got one more game.
There you go. His hat-trick in Kiev, notwithstanding then. But you know what? So he had his eye on a quiet little hatful yesterday. And then when he misses that one in the second half, where it is just a gift of a chance, and he sort of hits it straight at the keeper. So he wants, and then he swipes at one. He has a shot from range. He could have been on the score sheet. There were chances there for him. But as I said, watching his body language, you can tell how they've all become real strikers. It's not just Mo Salah and his competition with Harry Kane that the media are focused on. Firmino wants his goals, and I think he'll take that into next season. I'm Roberto Firmino, the goal scorer, not just this sort of bits and pieces player.
Yeah, no, I was going to make a ham-fisted point.
I could have gone on.
About Danny Ings from about 5 minutes ago, just to say that I think it was a little bit unfair on Danny Ings, and I think it is unfair on Danny Ings to write him off just basically because we haven't seen the body of evidence. But human psychology, it's always got to be one v the other. So people are pitching Solanke versus Ings like it's got to be one or the other. And actually, it hasn't. With that thing, there could legitimately be a place for both of them in this squad. That's all it was.
I think on the part that Rob's just been touching on, I think over the last few weeks, I don't know whether the golden boot thing had been getting in Salah's head.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Because while he's not been scoring, if you compare the last couple of games in the league to, and to a certain extent the second leg against Roma, compare that to any other 3 or 4 game cross-section of the season, there's positions he was getting in where he's sliding a ball through to someone else. And I think it almost came back at him, because I remember specifically in the Stoke game where Mane's cut in from the right and he's running towards the edge of the box, and Salah's done a thing where he's dropped the shoulder, he's gone to go inside but then gone outside his man, and you're thinking, right, just slide that ball there, and he's got a tap in. But it didn't look like Mane really wanted to play that ball, almost in a, bloody hell, if he's being like this, I'm not going to do it. But there was absolutely none of that yesterday. And I think
you're right. West Brom, Stoke, Chelsea. There were times where Salah was just straightforwardly in business for himself.
See, I've got to disagree. I don't buy that at all. I think it's just a case of yesterday was a case of having 7 clear days to repair. I think
that's a fair point.
I think they've been tired. I don't think they've been as fluid as they have lately. I mean, you can only see. I mean, look, you want your strikers to be selfish, but I don't think it's the golden boot thing's been a conscious thing. I just think it's been a case of 2 games in a week at the tail end of the season were ravaged by injuries.
Also, maybe the idea of wanting to get it done fast, snatching at things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So 1 win in the last 3 weeks, and we're on the beach. Essentially, yes, exactly that. So just wanting to be sure and putting that responsibility on yourself, where when you've got a bit of breathing space, maybe you're a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, all of that.
32 league goals. I mean, you're right, Rob, to mention that, Firmino's got 16, I think, 16 or 17 league goals. 15, sorry, that Mane's got 10, plus the all comps side of this for all 3 of them. But it's an absolutely remarkable achievement, 32 league goals. And I've actually found it quite difficult. I had to do a chat before, I did a chat before with a journalist who's over from the States about Salah. And it's almost hard to contextualise it when it's happening in front of you, because you just go into matches and Mohamed Salah's scoring again, and you come out and you're like, he scored again, yeah, and it's great because Liverpool scored and Liverpool won. Liverpool scored, they did the thing that we love. It's hard to, without there being a little bit of distance and putting it consistently in a historical context. No one else has done this in a 38-game season in the Premier League. That's since 1992. Yeah. Ian Rush gets 47 for Liverpool, 83-84. The other thing I've been saying is 25 all comps has only been done, I think, 3 times before this season, and both Salah and Firmino have both done that, and Salah's absolutely walked away with it. We either need the silverware, or we need the almost to find a way to have the distance because we've been doing it we've been watching it every week as you've been doing it to really understand exactly how remarkable this is.
It's really hard to process because it's unprecedented. It's not just that he's broken all these records. Well, it's a Liverpool player doing it. There's so many reasons it's hard to compute. But the fact that he's just a new signing that's walked in through the door, the fact that he's a winger, and I know, there's ambiguity in the positions, but he's not a Harry Kane.
He's not turned up to be Liverpool's number 9. He literally didn't take the number. He wanted Firmino to take number 9 so he could wear 11.
Yes, and he's not allowed to to sit on the edge of the 6-yard box waiting for things to bounce off him like a lot of goal scorers of Euro. He's got more in common, I suppose, with Cristiano Ronaldo, who found a way to be a phenomenal goal scorer from a wide position. It's not a nominal wide position; it is a wide position. So it is hard to process it. I think it'll be, it sounds like it's a cliche, but it'll make more sense if he even goes half, 2/3 way towards repeating it next season. I think I'll take all comps from Salah now, 20, 25 next season, 18 in the league. I'm taking that. That would be a phenomenal repeat season. I think it would put in context just how strong he was the year before, but in some way it will still be a reaffirmation of what he's capable of. Yes, I'd like him to go on to prove he's Messi, literally Messi, but if we've literally got Messi, I don't think I know there's comparisons to Messi this season, and they're reasonable because he's done Messi-like numbers and Messi-like performances at times. But we can't. If we've literally got Messi on our hands, then bloody hell, that's another conversation.
I mean, I think the most impressive thing about it for me, but with Mo and to his two partners and the people behind them, is that this side isn't built to serve Salah specifically. So in regards to Spurs, Kane does the numbers, but first thing Eriksen's looking for when he gets the ball, first thing. Any of their midfielders, Dele Alli, whatever.
The fullbacks especially whipping the ball in.
Especially, they're looking to service Harry Kane.
Yeah.
You can't say to me, you can't look me in the eye and go, we've already talked about the other lads being greedy. The first thought in Bobby Firmino's mind when he gets the ball is, I've got to find Mo. It's, if Mo's there, I'll put him in. But if I'm going to go myself, I'll go myself. Same goes for Sadio Mane. Don't get me wrong. I think the way we're set up suits Mo Salah. But I still think, Salah aside, we've still got two very, very good forward players next to him as well, which puts the achievements into further context.
Part of me wonders that had we put all our eggs on Sadio Mane early doors and let him play right wing, his favoured position, and maybe compromise Salah and asked him to attack from the left, what the seasons might have been like. I'm not saying Sadio Mane would have scored 40-odd goals, but I think he might have scored a heroic number of goals. I think, in another universe, Bobby Firmino scores the most goals. I do think Salah's been exceptional, but I don't think, let's put it this way, trying a crystal ball next season, if somebody says one of the other three emerges as the primary goal scorer, that wouldn't surprise me if I found that out now via some...
Would it surprise you?
No, not really. I think I wouldn't expect any of them to get 44 goals.
No.
But if they're all mid-20s, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them, whichever one's ahead.
Do you not think, in all seriousness, Man City have scored over 100 goals, we've scored 80-something. Don't worry about the specific number. My point is that they've scored 22, I think, more than us. Are you not expecting us to compete with them next season and look to score over 100 goals? Because if we score over 100 league goals, someone's got to be fucking kicking it in the goal.
Yeah, I think there will, but I think something that we've been possibly lacking for a couple of years now is goals from midfield. I think the way we're set up, obviously, services the three players we've got up top, but how many times over the last few months have we been like, God, please don't let there be any injuries to those front three, because we'll have to try something different and the goals aren't there other than those guys. So, I think that's possibly going to be something we're going to be looking at in terms of not just the front three, bringing numbers into midfield. I think one of the key things on Salah, and it's really, really hard to put into context, but the fact we have got those three up front and it's not a Harry Kane situation, it's not a this is your route to goal, is it just creates problems for everyone we play. They can't just double up on they can't just double up on Mo Salah because, well, Sadio Mane will do you, or Roberto Firmino will do you.
But that's why I think the setup is so important. Rick, you're exactly right. You can't, look, the truly great strikers always find a way anyway, whether you double mark them, triple mark them, whatever. But it is that triple threat. I think you put Mo Salah in any other front three in that league, then he doesn't score half as much. I mean, I read, I don't know, it was someone smarter than me was saying how Liverpool set up. In fact, it was Neil Jones told me, an ex-player who we couldn't name, was saying how Liverpool set up, you know, in theory, oh yeah, great, just play dead attack and it's dead easy. He says, no, there's an absolute bravery to the way Liverpool play. And it's far deeper than just having good players. It's having the commitment and the confidence to go, you know what, we're going to do this, we're going to storm these, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
But I think that's, you know, to ask the question, therefore, about next season, as I say, 84
well,
goals at the minute. Rob, you know, 84 goals, if I don't see, that's where the manager's put his energies. I think he's decided that's his way home. If we're going to do the business both at home and abroad, I think he's decided that we're going to do the business home and abroad by being an attacking force. I think he sees attacking and defending as linked. I think he's right to do so. But I think he sees that attacking force question, and I'm only seeing that number go up. I'll be really, really honest. I think if that number doesn't go up, then we won't have achieved our ambitions next season. So that's why I am asking the question. I take your general point about.
No, you make a point.
You'd be surprised if it was someone else, but I sort of think, and this is why I think it's hard to contextualise the whole achievements. The number of games I've come out of this season where I'm annoyed, or not annoyed would be the wrong way to phrase it, where I think we could have scored more. You know, and Saturday, Sunday story is a really good example. We've all said it should be 5-0 at half time, and Christ, if we could just get a pen. Do you know what I mean? That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
What's the goal? What's the actual difference between us and City on the
22? I think
it's 20.
We're 84. They're 106.
Okay, well, I'll make 2 points here. Okay,
Discount the 5 they scored against because they didn't count because Sadio Mane was sent.
Well, I'm going to start discounting. Well, let's put it this way: we don't start playing till after Tottenham, and I think we rarely get our front three together till after Tottenham. If truth be told, with Mane's suspension, a niggling injury, Coutinho's absence. There's a bedding in phase for Salah. There's some resting going on around the early Champions League qualifier. So we don't, for a range of reasons, we don't get going. And I think City are probably a good 10 ahead of us at that point, including 5 against us. Also, in the run-in, we before yesterday we'd only won 1 out of 5. Apart from the Bournemouth game, I think we're talking about 2 0-0s against Stoke. So we don't score in 3 of those, which is unheard of for us throughout the season. I think with a stronger squad, of the fact that we don't have to choose the competition we're going to concentrate on, I think Liverpool are, quite frankly, Stoke could have fallen by 4. We could have gone to West Brom and got 4 or 5. So I think you can see how we might have made the goals up on City if we'd had our time again and could start with the squad we want. I'd also caveat all of that if we're playing a numbers game by saying it's not a given because City are a 104 goal team this season, the City are a 104 goal team next season either. And there is also the question of conceding goals, which we've got much better at not doing so.
If we signed the Mo Salah that we thought we were getting, not the superstar that he turned out to be, then we'd be all right. And look, I know this isn't revisionism. When we signed Salah, the overall feeling was, we've got someone there if Mane's not there now. And a lot of people were saying that.
Yeah. Cover for Mane was my first thought.
Yeah, exactly. So if they can go and get someone of that, I'm not saying sign someone who turns out to be as good as Mo Salah, but if they can just share that burden a little bit and go for someone, the Mo Salah we thought we were getting as opposed to the one that...
Well, my thing was, which it always is, was can he just replicate what he did last season for us? So he got 1 and 2 the season before in Italy. He scored 16, and my attitude was 35 million for 16 league goals. Sound, I'll have a slice of that. Which would also be my attitude this season. You know, it's worth paying 35 million for another 16 league goals. I think that's almost what I'm saying. On top of where we currently are, you know, it's 22 goal difference at the minute. If we can go and spend some money and get another 16 league goals, great.
You can go to anyone you're going out and signing. You haven't got, and you get asked the question, well, where's my game time? Well, the game time is quite easy because you're actually filling in for 3 positions and not 1. Because you want to give each one of your front 3 equal rest over the course of the season. You could have a nominal plan B, still getting 25, 30 games a season, and the chance that if he does well enough, he gets in there.
I think some of the goals we've missed between us and City, Neil, arguably are Coutinho's goals, because somewhere along the line, all the front 3, the current front 3, were all on the same trajectory, more or less, at the point Phil left. Phil was also heading towards a 25-goal all-comp season himself. So, you know, we can go on all day about how maybe our system of play actually improved without Phil, but you can certainly goals totals. You could see how it's possible we could have had.
Did we score more than City in the Champions League?
We outscored everyone in the Champions
We
League.
outscored everyone.
Okay.
We've set records in the Champions League.
So the point I was kind of ham-fistedly trying to make earlier about the goals is the reason I don't think you're going to see one of them getting 40 next season is because they won't have to play.
I agree with that, yeah.
Right, so we'll get extra goals from midfield. We bring in a fourth choice for our front three, which we had at the start of the season, like Rob's just said. So that spreads the goals more. And if the system keeps doing what the system's been doing for the last 18 months, there's just goals there. And it's not all going to be focused around one, it's going to be spread.
And get a fifth choice as well. Always buy forwards and wingers, as Alex Ferguson said, because you can always fucking sell them. Glenn Murray is I'm going to keep saying it. Glenn Murray, who came on against us, lumbered round up front, is your 10th highest scorer in this division at the minute with 12. And he joined 12th, and he also is the second highest scorer of anyone who doesn't play for the top six side. Let's just remember that and just think what you could sell to Brighton at any time of your choosing, because nobody scores any goals.
Why didn't he start, Neil?
I think they were looking for the mobility. He's not mobile. He's just a big lad, and I think they thought Locadia might be able to run in behind us, and then Virgil van Dijk decides he's just going to stretch his legs for a minute and knock it off him. They don't play Pascal Gross either because I think they felt they had to carry him. I think if you play Gross, it's a bit of a 4-4-1-1 where basically you let Pascal Gross just do what he wants, and I think they thought we can't just let Pascal Gross do what he wants because these are going to batter us if we're not careful. We need to be compact.
Well, I thought he was going to bring both of them on at half-time because when they were all out warming up at half-time, there was a coach working specifically with those two. So I thought, oh, bloody hell, is he making two changes? But I almost thought he probably looked at it and gone, well, these two aren't going to have Van Dijk off. So let's give them what we can, but let's not make them do it for 45 minutes.
Just on Brighton, what do you make of Matty Ryan? There's a loaded question because I want to go.
I thought I was intrigued by him actually because I thought a couple of the kicks, he's like Pickford, but actually what everyone said Pickford was, rather than the theory of Pickford. He's closer to the theory of Pickford than Pickford actually is.
Right, okay. So all that in mind, and everyone's saying, I've just been reading the reports of people saying he played reasonably well. How close did he get to any of the goals? Do you want to know the answer?
Nowhere near him.
Nowhere fucking near.
Nowhere near him.
All right, okay. Just double check.
Just on that, on the Salah thing, this is the other thing I keep saying about Salah, is the number of times Salah scores and the keeper doesn't move.
Yeah.
Because he just put it somewhere the keeper can't get it.
Well, his first goal's a reverse pass.
In fact, hang on. Let's hold that point. It's not where the keeper can't get it. He's just that clever and assured. He's putting it where the keeper can't get. He's just not expecting where to go. When he turns up, you look at Matty Ryan. He done it against the goal against Palace, and he does it so many times. The goal against Porto, he'll take that little steadying touch, and you'll go that way. You look at Matty Ryan at the point when Mo Salah strikes that ball. Matty Ryan's actually in mid-air. That's why he can't move anyway. But he's going to shift his weight to the right when Mo goes, depending on the way you're looking at the goal.
Yeah,
he's clever enough to just pick a spot and not even. He does that so many times with Salah. You look at so many times. You just said yourself where the keeper's just reached the spot.
He just goes so early.
Yeah.
He goes so early. I mean, fouls
or late. Sometimes he prevaricates and takes the extra touch.
Or he waits for everyone to fall over. He just like takes a breath and does that
bullet time matrix and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
that matrix thing. So he's either doing that or, when they think he's drawing his boot back, he's already kicking the ball. It's as foul as the last player.
Very little
backlift. But a lot of times it's contact into this. Like it reminds me of Robbie Fowler in many respects. It's reverse pass the first.
I suppose what I'm trying to say is I don't think Matty Ryan's very good, but he's one that looks easy on the eye, so people like him.
He saved everything that was right at him. I can't remember him making a save.
He's not at fault with the goals, is he?
No, but I can't remember him making a save that you go, he's done well there.
Second goal, I want to talk about the scorers and using those jumping off points. We've done Solanke, we've done Salah. Dejan Lovren. What a first half that was. Rick, talk about deciding that you're just going to be first to everything. He was launching himself, and this was part of why Brighton could not get out. Dejan Lovren just wasn't going to stand for it.
But there was a moment, probably about 20 minutes in, where the ball's coming towards Locadia, and it's probably coming in around chest height, and Lovren's around the back of him, and somehow manages to sort of jump in the air, twist his body round him, and pass it to Van Dijk. And I was just, how does that even happen? How is that physically possible? Because he was just like, no, I'm not letting you even control this ball. You're having no time. We're getting back on the front foot. And by the way, this lad I've just passed it to isn't just a centre half. He can pick anyone else out on this pitch you like. So good luck with your long balls up to this lad.
Yeah, it's good watching Dejan yesterday. I loved the goal, and it just makes you think, just do that a bit more. It's not even the way he plants the header; it's just the run he chooses to get on his man.
One of the size of the jump.
Yeah. It's a great. I don't know. There are other centre halves around the Premier League we've watched in recent years who seem to make that a thing of theirs. John Terry was capable of.
Vidic.
Vidic. I've seen Cahill do it often enough. I just think he needs to start watching videos of himself at his finest, because Lovren, you talk about the goals, Lovren's capable of 5 or 6, maybe not all that style, but during the course of a season, not the 1 or 2 he gets.
That was his first goal at Anfield in the league for Liverpool, wasn't it? I know he scored against Dortmund in the Champions League.
No. Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Facts, man. Space Jam. You ever seen Space Jam? Yeah.
With Bugs Bunny in it?
Yeah, with the R. Kelly theme tune that we can't really talk about anymore. Anyway, so Space Jam, Hang Time, Michael Jordan, all that. It was just one of them. I just love watching it because you could see it. It was one of those goals you could see developing.
It leaves Robertson's foot, and I go, this is it.
Yeah.
I literally went, it's there.
Yeah.
I left Robertson's foot.
Because sometimes you just go, goal. Before anyone's even made a connection. Yeah. And it was just glorious. It was one of them you could put Chariots of Fire to, and it'd look even more magnificent. And it was made up for him. And you've seen the benefit of Dejan Lovren, who doesn't feel he's got to be the leader.
Loves the Reds.
Probably the after that weird, kung fu tackle pass thing and the goal, my favourite other moment of Lovren yesterday was when everyone's celebrating Salah's goal and he's just giving the ref an earful. He's 25 yards away. The ref's trying to get back to the halfway line, and he's just going mental.
We need more of that.
There was I thought Henderson was going to get himself at the very least booked yesterday, if not sent off. And we're not going to do the referee this time. We've done it recently. We'll do it again over the summer. It is a great cross from Robertson for the second, Rob. And it
stayed headed though as well, didn't it?
It stayed headed.
But the float. I don't like that kind of crossing.
Well, I was about to say the crossing's now noticeably more of a weapon than a constant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
when he first came into the side, I felt at times there was too many crosses going in, and I'm made up with where he is on the pitch to score the fourth. To me, it very much looked like an Alan Kennedy or Phil Neal goal. It very much looked like a classic Liverpool fullback's goal, maybe even a Marcus Babbel, drilling it in from inside the area when you've been inside the area. If you see what I mean.
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, I say this about wingers a lot, that whenever we get a new winger, you look at their output is let him be on the back post when the ball's on the other wing. I said that about Salah when he came in. I thought, and little did we know, at least with a winger, if you're not going to be arrive late in the box, be on the back post. With a fullback, I think we let them off the hook a bit. We go, yeah, okay, get beyond your winger, stretch the thing, overload, get a cross in, but not. Sometimes when there's other, when Lallana brilliantly slipped in Ings, he has the intelligence to just cut inside and make himself available. You're right, it is very much old school. I've not seen Steve Nicol throw into
great shots.
Yeah, I've just not seen that. Can't say I've seen that goal from a fullback in Liverpool since when.
Dude, you forget that we nearly scored the identical goal against Roma the other week and it got blocked from exactly the same position.
Did he?
Yeah, yes he did. I can't remember. Yeah, so it's obviously something been working on. I always remember when we spoke to Raf Benitez and he mentioned Arbeloa. And there's a thing where apparently in your ideal system, when your fullbacks do what they're supposed to do, when you're attacking, they get between the gap between the far post, so where the post is, and the edge of the 6-yard box. Do you know what I mean? That little space. Like that's their area. So if it pops out, you're not within the frame of the goal, but just far enough out to either head towards the ball, but you're far enough away, so if you get turned over, you've got a decent chance of recovering. And that's exactly the spot where he's been both against Roma and against Brighton the other day.
And he was also, aside from the fact that he's in the box, but when he actually realises the ball's bouncing out to him and he can get to it, he's actually making his way out of the box. So he's not even the furthest into the box that he has been in that move when he scores. He's actually heading. There
was some real joy in the goal scoring yesterday, wasn't there? I mean, each one had their own sort of dragons. To
Salah was made up for Solanke as well. Did you see that?
Well, he was. They were. I mean, Solanke was. It was a massive relief for him. Robertson, you obviously saw that. He felt like this sort of was the cream on the cake of what he's achieved so far. Although there's more to come, hopefully. But I particularly noticed Salah's goal. Now, I mean, you could say what a number of reasons why it meant a lot to him, but he's kind of a cool, understated customer, isn't he, a lot of the time, Mo? When he scores, everyone else around him is going madder than he is. He lets them all subside, he prays, and he goes back to halfway line. But he actually forgot himself for a second there as he goes to the Kop, I thought. And I don't know whether that was a product of realising with the Liverpool he was putting Liverpool in the Champions League, he'd reached a personal milestone, or that he had felt some frustration, funnily enough, with 3 games without a goal.
Or possibly that he's not given a Stonewall pen. Minutes before, because he was punching the floor after that. He had a full on what's going to happen here.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the pen thing, I think we're going to see a Suarez gate. Do you remember the season when Suarez couldn't buy a penalty? And then it's all as if the referees went away, that someone went, oh, good, you know what, actually, do
you know what changed that?
They were penalties then. No. And then the season after...
We started singing a song. That changed it.
Well, we're singing Salah songs.
No, we started singing When Suarez Gets a Pen, we're going to have a party.
But they all went away, looked at it, and then next season he's getting them left, right and centre. There was something else I was going to say, which is completely gone now. So
Lallana looked sharp-handed with Kiev in mind. He came on, I thought he looked quite bright.
Yeah, he did. It's good to see him as well. Good option. I say good option. People, I feel a little bit sorry for Adam Lallana in so much as that people forget how bloody good he was.
Well, this season sort of got on around, and he must be weird in that squad for Lallana. Having been a key man to now it's the life of a footballer, but it's a weird one.
Yeah, and you'd also see, given the front three, again, hindsight, would he be in a position to fight for one of those front 3 positions at the start of the season? Possibly, maybe. Is he now? Absolutely not. So we see where he is in midfield, possibly next season.
I thought he was really, really good. When he'd made his comeback slightly earlier in the season, he'd been, I suppose, more energy than technique. But we saw a sign of his football brain clicking into gear again. The goal, the contribution to the goal, but his movement was exceptional. His touch was exceptional. Look, Adam's got a lot of. If ever a man's come back from injury and has got things to play for, that boy's got things to play for. He's got the final to try and get some minutes in, and he's got the World Cup afterwards with England. There's a player on the mission. It might hopefully works out for us.
So the result against Brighton puts Liverpool into the Champions League. But Rob, I think there's knock-on effects all over the place here with the way this has gone. United have broken 80, and if they get beat by Chelsea, they've managed to have a gloriously bleak, almost Beckettian achievement of a season where they're actually really quite good, but no one gets to ever have a nice time. That's the main reason why I want Chelsea to beat them, and the fact that you never want Manchester United to win as much as a tombola. Spurs have that mad game. Someone always has a mad game at the end of the season, but they secure third. Chelsea and Arsenal miss out. I mean, you're very much a man for the bigger picture on this sort of stuff. There are knock-on effects here.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen power shifts going on over certainly last season. Arsenal, having had 4th as their right, but rarely any much higher than that, suddenly were properly knocked out of the Champions League places last year, and we replaced them in that. And that felt like a power shift. They've been very, very firmly confirmed as below the leading pack. Okay, we'll wait to see what the new manager brings to it, but he's got catch-up ground to make up here. Chelsea, well, it's a weird period for Chelsea, but I think it was important from our point. I'm only looking at it from our point of view. From our point of view, that they were knocked down a notch, that they found no way back into the Champions League. Okay, they have the bad season after Mourinho wins in the league last time with Mourinho, which leads to his sacking. But it's so bad it can almost be looked upon as a freak, and Conte almost confirms it's a freak by winning them the league. But the hangover again now says that they've now had 2 seasons out of 4 where they haven't qualified for the Champions League, and in between times won it twice. Can they repeat the trick and turn it around 100 full 360 again next season? It's looking harder and harder. What we are seeing with Chelsea, which is really important, I think, to observe, is they've been increasingly spending less net season upon season. The phase of the Abramovich era when he would bankroll them and he would just give them a cash injection to make sure they sustain themselves has gone. It feels like it's gone. I don't think he's suddenly going to find another 150 million down the back of the sofa to augment whatever they would be spending. So I wonder if they're falling back into the pack isn't much more permanent than people realise. I think they've still got a bit of kudos in Europe. People still see them as the Chelsea of Abramovich, who might be able to buy big stars. But I'd like to see what would happen to them now if they finally lose their grip on the likes of Courtois and Hazard, whether they can properly attract the biggest names in Europe anymore. Because are Chelsea a better prospect than Liverpool right now? I don't think so. I think for the first time in years, money, whatever way you want to look at it, I don't think Chelsea are a better prospect than Liverpool. And I think that's a major step forward for us. Arsenal goes without saying.
I look at the other teams, say in the top 6, and think they've all got their own issues. United, like Neil's mentioned, no one's had any fun there this season. They've actually quietly had a really good season. They would have been within a couple of results of winning a league in a normal league. But no one's happy there. No one's having a good time. And that's the players, the management. They've just lost their assistant manager, and Mourinho saying, I'm not going to have another assistant manager. I'm just going to teach Carrick and everyone else who's here. Then you've got City, and how do you improve on 106 goals and 100 points? That's like you said earlier, is either going to lead to a change in focus, so they're not going to do what they've done this season. We can only hope for that. And then going down the league, you're looking at Spurs. Spurs have got some real big issues brewing and probably coming to fruition very soon around their pay structure, around whether someone like Harry Kane's going to stick around. Well, maybe Harry Kane's a bad example, but someone like Eriksen or Ali, even someone who doesn't have a particular connection with the club and isn't prepared to take half of what they could be earning at a bigger club. Then you've got Chelsea, Arsenal. Arsenal, I don't think is as big a rebuild job as everyone thinks. I think you get the right manager in, get a couple of solid defenders and a new goalkeeper, and you could see the rest of that squad doing very well next season. Chelsea, it's all ifs and buts at the moment. It's who are they going to get in if they get rid of Conte, which realistically they're getting rid of him. Who goes, who stays, what sort of player are they going to look to bring in? Because since they signed N'Golo Kante, they've pretty much exclusively shopped in the not quite good enough British player market,
with the exception of Morata, which hasn't come off.
Yeah. So you look at it the second half of the season, Giroud's been more important to them than Morata, and Giroud costs 17 million from Arsenal. You've got Barkley not even looking like the Barkley who played for Everton when he does play, when Conte remembers he's alive. You've got Drinkwater hardly getting a game because he's not really consistent top 4 quality, which is why he left United in the first place. And realistically, like you've just been saying, Rob, are they going to have the money or the inclination to go out and spend the money they need to?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think if you look at our supposed peers, I think there's only us and City who you describe as anywhere relatively stable. I think right across the board, you've got issues there. I mean, I take Rick's points about personnel-wise, Arsenal don't need that much, but I think Arsenal's biggest challenge is undoing 20 years of Wengerisms. They're going to rip the system up and start again. And you're going to be going into a club there that only knows how to do things one way, is the Arsene Wenger way. And that will take time. They're going to go with the new structure. There's no guarantee that will work. You look at Spurs, who, and I like Spurs, not as much as Rob, but there you go.
Jesus.
Oh, get in!
89th minute.
Let me like this flare.
I think Pochettino's a real risk of losing Pochettino. I think when your chief executive's earning more money than a manager who's done a fantastic job, I think, I don't even think it was hidden or vague what Pochettino was saying yesterday about they've got to gamble. So I think there's a real risk there. I'm only grateful that it didn't happen last year and he ended up at Man United, because I think Pochettino's a far better manager for Man United than Jose Mourinho. So, I mean, you've seen the reaction from the fans. They're not happy finishing second. Any other season apart from City, they're probably winning the league. City have had an exceptional season, but United, yeah. They've got an FA Cup final, but they're not particularly happy. The only thing that seems to fuel them anymore is the fact that everyone hates Mourinho and they buzz off that, which is fine. But he's got issues. He's got very expensive pieces that he can't fit into his puzzle. You got Alexis Sanchez, you got Paul Pogba, you got Martial. And there seems to be this narrative that follows Mourinho now, and you can tell it annoys him that he's a 3-year manager. He doesn't develop players. He doesn't, just only because the fact he gets so prickly about it when it's brought up. If it didn't bother him and he didn't react, you wouldn't really be that arsed either, would you? Chelsea, Phil Blunder, I hate it when Phil's right. But Phil called Chelsea in the first couple of weeks of the season. He said, look at their squad. The champions, but the squad is thin as anything. I don't think it's any surprise that Michael Emenalo left in November. He was their director of football. They haven't really replaced him. And
I don't think the weird thing is I'm not sure. I think Phil's been proved right in the broadest sense, but not in the narrowest sense. I think they've managed squad-wise. I just think the squad's got lower in. They're lower in quality.
You say that, but you look at the quality Chelsea have got and compare it to Spurs' best players. Chelsea have got better players. Courtois a better goalie than Loris. Hazard's better than any player the Spurs have got. All right, Spurs have got Harry Kane. You've then got who else? Chelsea got.
Well, you looked at them. You looked at them in their title season, and you go, "That's a powerful front three."
Williams there.
Yeah, but William wasn't even in the side in the title season. So you were going, Diego Costa. He's the key miss. Diego Costa, an on-form Hazard, and Pedro back to his Barcelona day best with William as cover. That looked great, and then suddenly overnight, Hazard's playing in fits and starts. Morata isn't
right,
Costa.
So what I suppose I'm saying, in the instability, there's also a lack of identity across the six, I think. Apart from Mourinho's got his own identity. We all know what Man City are. We know how they play football. They all know what they do. You mentioned Liverpool, so anyone's not a Liverpool fan, they know what to expect. What's Chelsea's brand of football? What's their identity now?
Granny.
Spurs, when they're not, and I like Spurs, but I think Spurs have got a squad, apart from Kane and maybe Eriksen. Spurs, in my opinion, have got a load of players just slightly below the level. So whereas you think they only need a little bit, they actually need a lot. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Spurs' best asset is the continuity they get from their players being just shy of being world class.
That's what
I think a lot. No, it's what you said. No, but the continuity though. No,
what you mean is that no one's buying them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So continuity. Yeah, and that's my point. I'm agreeing with you because. What's going to happen? The Barcelona and Real Madrid aren't taking anyone off them. Okay, there may be a question on Harry Kane, but even then, I'm not convinced because he's not obviously a continental style forward, and certainly not. I think to Latin appetite sometimes, but. I don't know. Man United's a very, very strange one. They finished second. They finished 5 points ahead of us. But you think had we gone out to City, we wouldn't have had that 1 win in 5 run that we had, and might have comfortably seen off United.
What's his next move though? What do you reckon his next move is, Jose?
After you leaving United?
I mean next season, because he's finished 20 points behind City. Now, where does Liverpool an ongoing project and blah blah blah? It just doesn't fit with the Mourinho project. What do you think his next move is?
Well, he's got his only move. The only thing he knows how to do is to go into the market and look to buy somebody devastatingly expensive and who will give them a lift. Like you could say a Griezmann, but I don't think he will. And I think he's probably spent his forward allocation on Alexis Sanchez.
I think he'll buy 2 centre halves, but I think it's hard to say who those centre backs are. I think there's a general crisis in central defence. And that's one of the reasons why I think we did, one of the high points of our season for a variety of different reasons is securing Van Dijk.
Looks like a bargain already, doesn't he?
Yeah, because I don't think there's not. So he spent 40 million on Johnny Lindelof.
I think he's always trying to buy Michael.
I like from henceforward.
Fashies, yeah. I love.
Henceforward,
I think Mourinho's will always try and rebuy Michael Essien at his peak. He'll always try and find Ballack. He'd love a team with 4 central midfielders.
But I think he's also trying to buy. I think he's trying to buy Carvalho, and I don't think Carvalho exists.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think he's just trying to buy Carvalho, and I think that Bailly looks to me like a really good player. But there's massive issues about getting him on the pitch, even more than either of our two who go alongside Van Dijk.
I don't think Carvalho is as effective either. I think Carvalho now was sent off more often.
But I think he's just looking for us. I think he's just going to spend his life trying to buy a centre half.
A King Snide.
Yeah, a King Snide centre half who he's able to.
No, it's the compliments. It's absolute compliments.
Yeah, a King Snide centre half who he can sort of devote his image to and say, "This is my guy. This is what my guy does. My guy does this. My guy does this." And in the same way, he's sort of decided he's gambling the farm on Matic being his guy. Even though I think that Matic is a bit of a symbol of a football that's backwards. That's yesterday's football, Matic.
Do you think he lacks a player that will make his decisions for him on the pitch?
Well, I think he thinks that's Matic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So he hasn't got to call someone over and go, You've got like a Carvalho who'll go, right, I know what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
United badly need to win that FA Cup, I think, the nearer it gets to it. And looking how their season has sort of petered out by finishing second and getting 80 points, which sounds a bit mad. But I do feel they need... You could see the mood of their fans yesterday, just looking across social media and the various videos that were doing the rounds. We can say what we like about United, actually, despite outward appearances being a good football team, how 80 points in second to City is just de facto respectable. But I think if they lose to Chelsea in that cup final, I think it will be... I think the mood going to the new season will not be good. Just mad as that may sound in some context, it won't be good. And if they don't start well, I think there'll be a mood against Mourinho, which won't be helpful or further their cause.
One thing that surprised me yesterday is I saw the stat that since Arsenal signed Aubameyang, He scored 10 league goals. This season, Sanchez has got 9.
How much has he got for United? 1.
I don't know, I didn't see the split, but he's got 9 league goals.
It'd be great if he's fallen off a cliff.
But that's the thing. It doesn't seem like they bought the player they needed when they needed him. It seems like they almost looked like they were right. We got to get him just to get one up on City.
Well, it was a pissing contest. Wasn't it was an opportunity for them to get one up.
But you know what, lads? What's getting one up on City is not buying a player that they don't even need. It's being competitive against them. So sort out what you need to sort out and actually put a challenge together. And I think of their big money signings over the last few years, the only one that you could say is consistently paid off is Lukaku. Matic is Matic, has his limitations. You know, Pogba on his day looks like the best midfielder in the world, but the second half of this season particularly, I've not seen him have that many of his days. And he clearly, it seems to be some kind of issue with him and the manager. So their big plan, and it's not like they've stopped since Ferguson left. They've been throwing money at this thing for 5 years now, and this is the closest they've come, and they're 20 points behind.
Okay, interesting thing about everyone else. That's a show. We'll be doing that next week. Excellent stuff. Well done, everybody. Rob, you can start prepping that one now. Thank you very much to the Anfield Wrap this week. Thank you much to Liverpool for qualifying for the Champions League. Our focus will soon begin to shift towards Kiev. Now that one is in the bank, Liverpool can go to Kiev and enjoy themselves, have an absolute ball, beat Real Madrid. Thank you very much, Rob Gutmann, Andy Heaton, and Rick McEvoy. And thank you very much to RedsBet, who are supporting the Anfield Wrap throughout the entirety of 2018. 50% of the net losses or your losses go towards fan-related causes and ventures. So thank you very much to them indeed. If you are going to gamble, though, please do be gamble aware. BeGambleAware.org for that. And that has been the Anfield Wrap.